It was a beast. At its strongest, it was top 5 in intensity for strongest hurricane ever.
Hurricanes Helene and Milton have just struck Florida, leaving destruction in their wake. The U.S. military is stunned as its most formidable vessel faces an unexpected test. Despite being built to endure extreme weather and equipped with advanced technology, the sheer force of the storms has created panic among military officials. Can the world's largest aircraft carrier survive this fierce encounter with nature's fury? Join us on this special episode as we delve into what just happened as a deadly storm hit the U.S. shores. The wrath of nature. As Hurricane Milton hits Florida's panhandle, just days after the powerful Hurricane Helene, the U.S. Navy and Air Force are moving not only people, but also planes and ships in Mayport. The Pentagon is presently preparing for the worst, as the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has predicted that the extremely dangerous hurricane will make landfall this weekend along Florida's northwest coast. This hurricane is described as unusually large, with winds extending up to 275 miles from the storm's center. Unfortunately, not all ships in Mayport will be able to escape the pending disaster because they are still under maintenance and will remain at the pier. So the military has indeed made its best effort to protect them with special heavy weather moorings. This isn't the first time the military has faced such a severe threat. In 2018, Hurricane Michael caused significant destruction at Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida, ripping roofs off buildings and causing widespread damage. While most of the F-22 stealth fighters were relocated before the storm hit, about a dozen remained on the base and were ripped beyond repair. Fearing that history might repeat itself, the Tyndall Air Force Base is currently closed to non-essential staff, and some personnel have been evacuated from counties under a hurricane warning. The Air Force has also relocated F-35 aircraft to bases in Nevada and Oklahoma, and other planes like the QF-16 and E-9 have been moved to Gulfport, Mississippi for safety. In a recent update, Eglin Air Force Base, about 2 hours from Tyndall, is now focusing on essential missions in preparation for the hurricane. Recent photos show aircraft safely stored in hangars. The Air Force confirmed that planes from nearby Hurlburt Air Force Base and Duke Field have also been evacuated or secured in hangars. MacDill Air Force Base near Tampa is under a partial evacuation order, announced by the base commander, Colonel Ed Szczepanik, on its Facebook page. The Air Force reported that 13 of the base's KC-135 tankers have already been moved, with 11 relocated to Bangor, Maine, and Pease, New Hampshire, while 2 others were secured in hangars on the base. Meanwhile, Patrick Space Force Base, near Melbourne, Florida, has closed some facilities but hasn't ordered evacuations. For the Pentagon, Hurricane Helene represents a national emergency that threatens both civilians and military operations, as several bases lie directly in its projected path. Navy leaders, including Secretary Carlos del Toro, have been actively developing strategies to confront these challenges. Climate change concerns will definitely now become a key factor in military planning after this storm. While destroyers aren't designed to withstand the full power of a hurricane like Helene, how would the world's largest aircraft carrier hold up against such a massive storm? What would it take to bring down this formidable giant of the sea? The Formidable Sea Behemoth. When looking at a massive aircraft carrier, it's easy to wonder how it doesn't tip over, especially from the front, where its narrow hull rises like an upside-down pyramid. The USS Gerald R. Ford adds to this feeling, with its heavy platforms holding planes weighing several tons. So how does this 100,000-ton ship stay upright. To understand this, we must first ask, why doesn't such a heavy ship sink? The answer lies in Archimedes Force, which states that if an object's density is lower than water, it will float. An aircraft carrier stays afloat because its large volume makes its overall density lower than water. Despite carrying planes, missiles, and equipment, the USS Gerald R. Ford has a volume of 1.3 million cubic meters but weighs about 112 million kilograms. This gives it a density of 86 kilograms per cubic meter, much lower than Wood's 550 kilograms per cubic meter. Archimedes' force helps the ship stay stable. It acts at the center of the submerged part, called the center of buoyancy. If the ship tilts, the buoyancy shifts, and the metacenter keeps the ship balanced as long as its center of gravity remains below it. Designing a stable ship like an aircraft carrier is a complex task that requires clever techniques. Real-life examples show that theory doesn't always work perfectly. Many ship accidents due to stability issues still happen today, even with advanced computers that can predict a ship's behavior. One tragic example is the Seawolf ferry disaster in South Korea on April 16, 2014, when the ferry capsized, resulting in the deaths of over 300 people, mostly schoolchildren. The main causes were overloading and improper cargo placement, which made the ferry unstable and led to its tipping over. The USS Gerald R. Ford carries about 40 to 44 FA-18EF Super Hornet fighters and several other aircraft. Moving these heavy planes from the hangar to the upper deck using elevators can impact the ship's stability. Additionally, the aircraft requires fuel stored at the bottom, and as fuel is used, the carrier's center of gravity rises, further affecting stability. To eliminate future disasters, when an aircraft carrier joins the US Navy, it must complete rigorous test trials, especially shock trials. These tests simulate situations where the ship might face explosions from underwater mines or torpedoes. During shock trials, powerful charges, often set off underwater, explode near the ship to assess how it and its systems react to strong vibrations and shocks similar to those experienced in real combat. The goal is to determine if the shock wave could cause the ship to capsize. In 2021, the USS Gerald R. Ford underwent these shock trials, where explosive devices weighing up to 40,000 pounds were detonated nearby. The tests proved that the aircraft carrier could endure such blasts without suffering critical damage. Another key evaluation is the maneuvering test, where the ship performs sharp turns and complex maneuvers at high speeds. These tests are vital for understanding how the ship responds to sudden changes in direction and speed, which can affect its stability, navigation systems, and crew performance. Despite their massive size, aircraft carriers must quickly change direction to evade threats like torpedoes or missiles. Witnessing the 100,000-ton USS Gerald R. Ford make a sharp turn to the left at 30 knots while tilting its flight deck about 30 degrees. It's hard to imagine the immense forces needed to tilt such a large ship. The impressive stability of the aircraft carrier comes from its specially designed hull, which lowers the ship's center of gravity and raises the center of buoyancy. The bow bulb, located underwater, not only reduces water resistance but also enhances stability. Additionally, the ballast system plays a crucial role in balancing the ship by managing weight distribution. This system allows the carrier to maintain stability as the weight on board changes due to planes taking off or landing, or when supplies and fuel are loaded. The ballast system also helps ensure the ship has the proper draft and reduces rolling during turns or in rough seas. The ballast tanks are located on the sides and in the keel area, working together to maintain the ship's stability under various conditions. The system is controlled automatically or by command from the control room. The automatic mode is used for routine operations, such as taking off and landing of airplanes. The human takes over control in non-standard situations or special operations. For example, in preparation for a sharp turn of the aircraft carrier, water is pumped in and out using powerful pumps with a capacity of thousands of liters per minute. Modern aircraft carriers, like the Gerald R. Ford, have active stabilizers. These are movable blades that help balance the ship and reduce side-to-side rocking, even in rough seas. They adjust automatically based on wave direction and strength, using information from gyroscopes to keep the hull steady. The USS Gerald Ford can handle very rough storms because it has a high freeboard, which is the space between the waterline and the flight deck. On aircraft carriers, this distance is usually more than 65 feet. This height acts as a protective barrier, preventing large waves from flooding the flight deck, even during the worst storms. While some spray or minor splashing might reach the deck, the main areas of the ship stay safe and dry. The high freeboard helps keep the flight deck clear from becoming overwhelmed by water. The elevated flight deck also allows the carrier to stay stable in rough seas, letting aircraft operations continue more safely even during a storm. But the carrier's storm protection doesn't stop at its freeboard. The flight deck is also equipped with large drains and gutters that quickly remove water, directing it to scuppers, large drains along the deck's edges. This system ensures that any water reaching the deck is quickly drained away, keeping the flight deck clear and operational. The flight deck itself is designed with a slight curve called a camber, sloping from the center to the edges. This helps water run off quickly, working with the drainage system to keep the deck clear of water. The role of the highly skilled crew is also essential in ensuring the ship's resilience during hurricanes. These sailors are expertly trained to manage extreme conditions and are crucial in safeguarding both the ship and its personnel. When a hurricane approaches, the crew takes a range of precautionary measures, such as securing equipment, sealing hatches, and reinforcing critical structures. Moreover, the ship's command team carefully plans the vessel's course to avoid the most dangerous parts of the storm. During these intense situations, the crew works together as a well-coordinated team, ensuring that the ship remains operational and safe. Their training and commitment are tested to the fullest as they navigate through one of the most challenging scenarios at sea. Although the USS Gerald Ford can survive the toughest storms, being a warship means it can also face enemy attacks. Despite its strength, it still has vulnerabilities. So, what could actually sink the world's aircraft carrier? Destroying the sea behemoth. Before hypersonic weapons were developed, American aircraft carriers were seen as nearly invincible. Attacking one required a significant loss of enemy forces. For example, around 50 to 60 Soviet bombers were needed to launch an attack, using fast cruise missiles designed to overcome air defenses. It was estimated that 20 to 30 direct hits would be necessary to destroy a carrier unless nuclear warheads were involved, which could increase the chance of sinking it to 70 or 80%. With hypersonic missiles like Russia's Zircon and China's YJ-21, fewer missiles are now needed to target aircraft carriers, and they are more likely to get past missile defenses. Torpedoes also pose a significant threat to aircraft carriers, having sunk even the toughest warships in the past. While each carrier is equipped with anti-submarine defenses, these systems are not foolproof. Drone swarms can also present a potential danger. Although drones are not as powerful as hypersonic missiles or torpedoes, they are inexpensive and can be produced in large quantities. An enemy would need to send hundreds of drones close to the carrier to have any chance of success. Suicide boats could pose a similar risk. Like drones, many boats would need to approach the carrier without being detected to be a threat. Additionally, aircraft carriers can be attacked by gunfire, submarines, and planes, and some have been sunk by all three during wars. However, a carrier should not be easily sunk unless it is poorly managed. While submarines struggle to hit fast-moving carriers, those tied to slow tankers are at greater risk. Given the many threats that aircraft carriers face in modern warfare, the U.S. Navy has taken significant measures to enhance the safety and effectiveness of the USS Gerald Ford. But how has it accomplished this? The ultimate naval battle. To increase their chances of surviving enemy attacks, aircraft carriers use a strong, layered missile defense system. This system includes the Aegis Combat System, found on cruisers and destroyers, which helps track and shoot down missiles. The Phalanx CIWS uses fast-firing cannons to shoot down any incoming threats, while the evolved Sea Sparrow missile and rolling airframe missile provide extra protection against air attacks. In addition to these defenses, FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jets are always ready to fight off enemy missiles, and electronic warfare systems are used to block or confuse enemy signals, making it harder for missiles to hit the carrier. All these systems work together to keep the carrier and its crew safe. If missiles manage to hit the ship, the best defense is the waterproof compartments. The aircraft carrier is divided into separate sections by strong watertight walls. These walls keep each section isolated, so if one floods, the water won't spread to the others. In the event of a torpedo or missile attack, damage to the hull can cause flooding, but the bulkheads help contain the water, preventing the ship from rolling over or sinking. When water enters a compartment, it automatically seals off, closing all openings to stop the water from moving to other sections. The exact number of watertight compartments on the Gerald R. Ford is not shared with the public because it is important for the ship's safety and combat ability. However, based on previous designs, we know that Nimitz-class carriers have several hundred watertight sections across all decks. The lower decks, which are below the waterline, house critical areas like engine rooms, fuel storage, ammunition, and food supplies. These sections are protected the most because damage here can seriously affect the ship's ability to float. There are also hangars for planes that are divided into compartments to ensure not all aircraft are lost if one section is hit. If the automatic pressurization system is activated, saving the ship becomes the top priority, even over saving lives. If someone is trapped in a flooded compartment, no one can go in to help them, they would be lost. There are many tragic examples of this, like in 1960, when an explosion on the USS Sargo in Pearl Harbor led to the isolation of a damaged area. Some crew members inside could not escape and died. In 2007, an explosion aboard the British submarine HMS Tireless caused similar deaths due to a malfunctioning containment system. This might sound harsh, but such tough choices are necessary to prevent losing the entire ship and causing more deaths. However, watertight compartments are not a perfect solution. If the hull is severely damaged and multiple compartments flood at once, the ship can lose stability. This occurred on November 8, 2018, with the Norwegian frigate KNM Helge Ingstad, which capsized after colliding with an oil tanker due to flooding below the waterline. To keep dangers under control, the USS Gerald Ford has an advanced damage control system, which includes modern firefighting tools, highly trained crew members, and improved compartmentalization with watertight doors and bulkheads. These features help limit water damage during emergencies, like fires or hull breaches. The Ford operates as part of a larger naval task force that includes missile cruisers, destroyers, and submarines, providing extra protection. And these Ford-class carriers are equipped with missiles capable of hitting targets accurately up to 2,500 kilometers away. The USS Gerald Ford isn't just the most advanced aircraft carrier in the world because of its self-defense capabilities. It's also far more lethal than any other naval ship, capable of unleashing an incredible amount of military power during combat. Just how powerful is it? Enhanced combat systems. The USS Gerald R. Ford has advanced combat systems and automated processes. One of its standout features is the new dual-band radar developed by Raytheon. This system combines two radar frequencies into one powerful tool, handling low-altitude tracking and all-weather target searching. Instead of big antennas, the Ford uses a sleek, six-sided radar that saves space and needs less maintenance because it has no moving parts. The DBR runs on a smart system and stays cool with a special cooling setup, ensuring it works smoothly. It's the first radar to control two frequencies with a central system, making it one of the most advanced radars in the world. The ship also features improved weapons movement. Advanced elevators and better layouts help transport weapons faster from storage to the flight deck, boosting efficiency by 25% compared to older carriers. Its electromagnetic railgun is one of the most advanced weapons, firing projectiles at hypersonic speeds up to 100 nautical miles. While promising, the railgun faces challenges with energy demands and heat generation, which can damage the barrel if not cooled properly. To solve these challenges, the USS Gerald R. Ford's nuclear reactors generate a huge amount of power, enough to run the railguns. Plus, the ship can use seawater to cool the railgun barrels, making it possible to use them on aircraft carriers. Another important weapon on the Ford is the Tomahawk land attack missile. These long-range cruise missiles can hit targets on both land and sea, even in bad weather. They can reach deep into enemy territory without putting the carrier in danger. Their advanced guidance systems make them very accurate, reducing the chances of hitting the wrong target and improving strike effectiveness. Looking ahead, even more exciting upgrades are planned. The Navy is working on adding free electron lasers and electric armor, which require a lot of power. Luckily, the Ford-class carriers have extra energy. Right now, they only use half of their power, leaving plenty for future high-tech weapons like lasers. Another upgrade on the USS Gerald R. Ford is that it uses electromagnetism to launch aircraft, something other aircraft carriers are incapable of. It can make planes go from standing still to over 100 knots in just a few seconds faster than the world's quickest roller coasters. Unlike the old steam catapults, the new electromagnetic system, called EMALS, is not only faster but also more accurate. This system launches planes so smoothly that it reduces damage to the aircraft. It's lighter, cheaper to run, and easier to maintain than the old steam-powered systems. EMALS can launch all kinds of planes, from big jets to small drones, and it saves water and energy since it doesn't use steam. At the heart of EMALS is a motor that uses electric currents to create strong magnetic fields. These fields push a carriage down a long track, sending planes into the sky. This motor can launch a plane weighing 100,000 pounds down a 300-foot track at 150 miles per hour. Each launch needs a lot of electricity, more than the ship can provide all at once. To handle this, EMALS stores energy between launches in spinning disks that release a burst of power when needed, taking only 2 to 3 seconds to send the plane into the air. During the launch, sensors along the track make sure the right amount of force is used, protecting the aircraft and giving it a smooth takeoff. This careful control is what makes EMALS better than the old steam catapults. On the other side of the flight deck, planes land using a modern system called AAG. When a plane lands, it drops a tail hook that grabs one of the wires stretched across the deck. The AAG system then absorbs the energy from the landing, bringing the plane to a stop in a short distance. Another thing that sets the USS Gerald R. Ford apart from any other carrier is that it can carry up to 75 aircrafts, including FA-18 jets, helicopters, and E-2D Hawkeyes. This mix of planes makes the carrier a strong force in naval aviation, able to take on many different missions at the same time. How are all these amazing things possible? How can the USS Gerald Ford use the latest weapons, carry so many aircraft, and still stay out at sea for a longer time than any other aircraft carrier? Powerhouse of Energy. The carrier's nuclear power system gives it a big advantage. It allows it to sail for over 10 years without needing to refuel, giving it unmatched range and flexibility, making it ready for any mission, anywhere. The Gerald R. Ford class uses the newest and strongest Bechtel A1B reactor. This reactor is smaller and simpler than the older Nimitz class A4W reactor, so it needs fewer crew members but gives out much more power. The USS Gerald Ford has 2 of these reactors, producing at least 25 more power than the Nimitz class. This extra power triples the amount of electricity for the ship's systems, giving it a huge increase in capability. Unlike the older Nimitz class, which was designed in the 1960s when power needs were much lower, the Gerald R. Ford class is built for the future. Steam from the reactors drives 4 main turbine generators, turning it into electricity to power the ship's most important systems, including the advanced electromagnetic catapults. Steam turbines also handle the ship's movement, making sure it can keep up with any challenge. One of the biggest strengths of this new design is its ability to grow with future technologies. Engineers designed the ship so that it can easily add new systems, ensuring it stays ahead of threats for many years. With a lifespan of 90 years, the Gerald R. Ford class is prepared for the future, with half of its electrical power still available for systems that haven't even been invented yet. The new aircraft carrier's large flight deck is built to work as efficiently as possible for launching and landing planes, making it one of the most advanced floating airfields in the world. While there is a small risk of planes falling off the flight deck, the Ford is designed to reduce this risk. The deck has non-slip surfaces to give better grip during takeoff and landing. Advanced arresting gear safely slows down planes during landing, lowering the chances of them sliding off the deck. In emergencies, like when a plane's cockpit malfunctions or the brakes fail, safety barriers called jet blast deflectors can be raised to stop the aircraft from falling off the deck. These barriers are made of strong steel and can handle the power of a jet engine. If an arresting cable breaks while a plane is landing on a carrier like the USS Gerald R. Ford, there are safety steps to reduce the danger. First, the pilots are well trained for this. If the plane misses the cables, they need to take off again right away. This is called a bolter. Pilots are trained to use full speed to quickly lift off circle around, and try landing again. The carrier has enough runway space to help the plane take off safely. Second, modern carriers like the USS Gerald R. Ford have advanced arresting systems with multiple cables. If one cable breaks, the plane still has a good chance of catching another. The arresting system is regularly checked to make sure everything works well and prevent failures. If a cable breaks, the crew quickly checks the deck and clears any debris so the plane can try landing again safely. The flight deck also has visual landing aids, like the Fresnel lens optical landing system, to help pilots land safely. But hand signals are still very important if the systems fail. The crew practices using hand signals to make sure communication stays clear. In low visibility, like fog or thick clouds, pilots depend on visual cues to take off and land, so these tasks become more difficult. The ship's radar and communication systems are very important for guiding the pilots and coordinating with the flight deck crew. The FLOLs helps give pilots the right glide path for safe landings, even when they can't see well. With these significant upgrades, the USS Gerald Ford has become a powerful force on the global stage. For any hostile nation, the sight of this massive aircraft carrier approaching their shores is truly a nightmare. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.